Hello, everyone. Thank you to eDaily and to Flip and for everyone else who's helped put this event on. My name is Julian Kwan. I am the co-founder and CEO of two platforms in the STO space. The first one is InvestorX. We have the first Singapore licensed security token service as a software platform. Licensed in Singapore with a broker-dealer and an exchange license for STO. And we also built IXSwap, which is the first automated market maker for STO. I'm originally from Australia. I spent 13 years in China. I started one of the first social media companies. I then built the first boutique hotel in Shanghai, which was also the first carbon neutral hotel. And after running a few businesses, I wanted to get into the marriage of the internet and investments. So I moved to Singapore in 2015 and started InvestorX. And it was the first real estate crowdfunding platform that got a license from the Monetary Authority of Singapore. And we started investing in projects all over the world, for investors that were all over the world. Through that journey, I realized that the technology was quite low in the first generation of online investment platforms, P2P, equity crowdfunding. So when the initial coin offering cryptocurrency ICO boom of 2017, I immediately thought we should use the same technology to wrap the real world assets and create security tokens for all types of assets. And in a world of digital currency, there should be a world of digital securities and STOs. And when we bring those worlds together, we're going to see an explosion of value. So we're super happy to be here in Korea. My team and myself, we love Korea. I've been here many times. It's a very sophisticated market. It's a very digital market. It's a young, savvy, intelligent society. And I think it's one of the biggest gaming markets. It's one of the biggest crypto markets. And I do believe it will be one of the most important STO markets globally, but especially in Asia. Let me just play a quick demo of our platform.
솔루션인 인베스타X를 소개합니다. 단 90초 만에 저희 플랫폼이 어떻게 토큰화 절차를 간단하게 쉽고 빠르며 비용 효율적으로 하는지 소개하겠습니다. 인베스타X 토큰화 플랫폼에 접속해보세요. 사용자 친화적인 인터페이스를 통해 다양한 기능을 쉽게 탐색할 수 있습니다. 번거로움 없이 법인 계정을 생성하세요. 신청서 양식을 작성하고 제출한 후 승인을 받으면 계정이 활성화됩니다. 은행 계좌를 쉽게 연결할 수 있습니다. 원활한 자금 이체 및 인출을 위해 은행 계좌를 인베스타X 계정에 연결하세요. 증권형 토큰을 손쉽게 리스팅할 수 있습니다. 프로젝트 정보, 토큰 세부 정보, 제한 조건을 제시해주세요. 그리고 검토 및 승인을 위해 필요한 서류를 업로드해주세요. 고객의 주문과 여러분의 증권형 토큰을 자동으로 매칭할 수 있습니다. 주문 조건과 원하는 투자자 프로필을 지정하세요. 저희 플랫폼이 완벽하게 매칭을 도와드립니다. 빠른 토큰화 프로세스를 확인해보세요. 인베스타X의 첨단 기술은 원활하고 효율적인 프로세스를 보장하여 여러분의 시간과 노력을 줄여줍니다. 비용을 절감해주는 토큰화 프로세스를 확인해보세요. 인베스타X는 불필요한 중개인과 비용을 제거하여 여러분의 수익을 극대화합니다. 기업 계정 개설, 은행 계좌 연결, 증권형 토큰 상장, 고객 주문 매칭 등 모든 과정이 인베스타X와 함께라면 간단하고 쉬워집니다. 지금 인베스타X와 함께라면 토큰화 여정을 시작하고 자산 디지털화의 무한한 가능성을 함께 열어갈 수 있습니다. 지금 인베스타X에 문의하세요.
Okay, so moving along. So we wanted to build a one-stop shop where any issuer can come to the platform They can co-brand a section of the platform. They can leverage our licenses to issue, trade, and custody any STO. And they can onboard investors from anywhere in the world. And all of this can be done in one place, very easy, legally and compliantly. We work on STOs, assets from all over the world, and we can onboard all investors except USA investors. So this is a quick history of the public markets. The reason I'm showing this is because publicly traded assets have certain characteristics. They are liquid, they are transparent, they are digital. And what tokenization does for all the private market assets, real estate, private equity, venture capital, startups, it brings the similar attributes. So if you look back at the history of the traded securities, all of the major expansions of capital came when we married new technology to the marketplace. The two best examples is electronic trading, where now we can all trade stocks on our phones, made the market infinitely bigger, and the development of the ETF structure, which was a new technology-driven investment structure created 30 years ago. The first one was $6 million. Now it's a $7 trillion asset class. STOs will create the next wave of ETFs and digital structures that will change the world of finance. So a lot of the challenges with private markets. I did real estate funds, I did private equity funds. Raising the money is slow, the paperwork is expensive, investing is slow, there's typically no liquidity, you wait for years and years and years, and all of this has been the characteristics of private market assets. Now, with STOs, we're using technology-driven investment structures, blockchain smart contracts, to wrap real-world assets. It brings a whole world of new benefits. These are the simple ones. This is the value of digital versus analog, of digital versus paper. We're going to see much greater transparency, which is why regulators around the world are generally very supportive of the STO industry. We're going to see a much broader investor base because it's much lower cost to issue these shares as tokens instead of paper. We're going to see a new world of investment products. Just like the ETF in the public markets, we're now working on real estate 2.0 vehicle, the next generation of real estate funds, the next generation of venture capital funds. And there's a whole lot of other benefits, tradability, accessibility, and I'm going to dive much deeper into this a little bit further down the line. The reason we're all here today now is because around the world, all different types of securities are being tokenized. We have tokenized real estate. We have tokenized shares in pre-IPO companies. We've even tokenized the employee stock option shares in our company, because a digital ESOP, a tokenized ESOP, means our employees can trade. That makes them more valuable than paper ESOPs, where typically the team has to wait for an exit of the startup or they get nothing at all. So these are just some examples. We've tokenized art with Julius Baer. We've tokenized real estate with UBS Bank. And around the world, we're seeing a whole world of products coming out. The banks are tokenizing bonds, are tokenizing commodities. And private equity is also tokenizing shares of funds. There's ESG-related products, carbon credits, and a whole new world of assets coming down the pipeline. And one of the reasons why STOs is such an enormous opportunity is because we don't need new regulations. Securities regulations, at least in Singapore, do not reference paper. So whether you issue a security on paper or a token, it doesn't matter as long as you are issuing and trading, custodizing, advertising, following the rules of the securities laws. So I think that there has been a lot of confusion around the world. When we started in 2018, we did the very first STO event in Asia. It was at the height of the ICO boom. So the cryptocurrency market had gone a bit crazy. There were tens of thousands of tokens, and then everyone stopped buying. And at that time, the regulators in America started saying a lot of these initial coin offerings have securities features, so they're actually STOs, but they didn't issue and trade them legally, and now they're in trouble. So STOs were never illegal. It was people who were issuing assets as securities, but pretending that they weren't. So here's one example. Apologies, this is not in a translated. People often ask, as one example, what's the difference between a real estate STO and a publicly listed REIT? So publicly listed REITs are fantastic. Same thing, a new product developed globally. It shows there was appetite for institutional real estate that was liquid. The challenges with REITs are, though, because they must distribute most of their income, investors do not get the equity upside. That's a big one. Because public listed REITs are publicly listed stocks, they move in relation to the volatility of the stock market, which is very different from how real estate typically is valued. The return profiles change a lot as well. In Singapore, if you want to launch a REIT, most REIT managers would never consider any asset less than $500 million. So it's for the biggest assets. It's a very, very small percentage of the real estate market. You can't do development projects typically. You can't do many types of assets. So a tokenized real estate share, a real estate STO, brings a lot of the benefits of public REITs, but it's applicable to the rest of the real estate asset classes. And we spoke to 4 of the biggest REIT companies in Singapore 3-4 years ago when we started this journey into tokenization. And we went to see them and said, what do you think about this? Because we didn't want them to block our plans because they're all very, very big. And every single one of them immediately said, this is fantastic. Most of our assets we can't put in REITs. It's too expensive. They're not big enough. They don't have these characteristics. So tokenization is applicable to the rest of the portfolios. So that was very interesting. Another thing that's very interesting about real estate is that, as one example, and this is when I talk about new investment products are being created with STOs, the typical private equity real estate fund is a fixed life 7-year fund. If you think about the USA market, commercial USA real estate funds that were vintage 2003, 4, 5, or 2013, 14, 15, when they were forced to sell at the end of 7 years, the first set of 2003, 4, 5 funds all lost money because we had the global financial crisis and real estate went down a lot. The next 2013, 14, 15 real estate funds all were forced to sell when COVID hit and USA real estate, especially in places like New York, had dropped 20, 30, 40%. So for 7 years of work, everyone loses money. A tokenized real estate fund would offer a lot more optionality. If people could trade, if they could be distributed, and also if the managers weren't forced to sell at that period of time when the market was down. The reason we have these fixed life funds, because no one wants to give money to someone forever. So we're working on and seeing a whole new way of issuing real estate shares in a better format that benefits not only the investors, but also the managers. This is just one example of why we're super excited by the tokenization market. Another important element around tokenization is that we're able to now see a lot more different types of assets being tokenized and invested into, even from the same product. So as an example, I guess a simple way to think about real estate is there's debt and there's equity. But now I think we'll start to see tokenization of other characteristics of the asset, maybe the advertising rights on the building, or maybe income from certain parts of the building. So this is actually from Citibank, who predicts the market of STOs to be move towards, you know, 70, 80 trillion dollars in the next couple of years. The part of the industry that we focus on is private market assets. So anything that's not publicly traded. This is where we see the greatest advantages and benefits of bringing in STOs, but that is not the only thing that's being tokenized. A lot of the banks have been tokenizing publicly traded assets. JP Morgan is a good example. JP Morgan has built the Onyx platform. They tokenize publicly traded assets. The reason they do that is because a lot of these assets cannot be lent or borrowed or used in any other way. So a tokenized format, even though it's already a public asset, brings multiple dimensions of an extra value to these assets. But if you look at, just again, real estate's the easiest one for everyone to get their hands on. We're looking at the size of the private market to the public market asset. So this is where we focus our energy, and I think this is the size of the opportunity. So just a bit of context. The STO market is still very young. People forget that Bitcoin turned 15 years old about a month ago, I think. Bitcoin at 15 years old, we now have every major financial institution in America launching Bitcoin ETFs, but it took 15 years. STOs won't take that long because the S is securities, and we already have markets, and we already have players, and we already have licensing. But the STO market really only started in 2018. It started, again, with the failure of the ICO market. The first products were very, very poor quality because most of them were actually types of cryptocurrency pretending to be securities. The other major issue from 2018 was there was no infrastructure. So there were no broker-dealers, there were no exchanges, there were no custodians. It had started, but that takes time to build up. So now in 2023, we've had approximately 5 years of infrastructure development, and COVID probably took out 1 or 2, so we're still only around the 3 or 4 mark. But now you have licensed platforms like INX and ourselves and others around the world who can provide an end-to-end solution, which means you now have a much higher quality investment company tokenizing assets. But you can see it's just an enormous growth opportunity. So this is the size of the STO market over the last couple of years. In 2018, we only had token issuance companies. So they had technology, but they had no licenses. So a lot of people started to use them and then realized that they wanted trading, they wanted custody, but they didn't have the licenses. So we actually went down in 2019 when a lot of the market started to realize we need licenses and technology. You can't have just one. So in 2020, we started to see the first security token exchanges. And then also at the same time, the first security token custodians. And then now you can start to see the growth. So the interesting thing about the STO market was we started with just the technology. We really needed to start with custody, and then exchanges, and then broker dealers, and then technology as well. I better keep moving forward here. So why now? Larry Fink says STO is the next generation of the markets. Jenny Johnson, CEO of Franklin Templeton, says Bitcoin's the biggest distraction from the biggest opportunity in finance, STOs. What's also interesting is the crypto guys started buying STOs for the very first time. Why? Because there's $100 billion of stablecoins holders. They don't want to go into fiat. There was no yield in DeFi because of all the meltdowns and that happened. So people started tokenizing treasury bills. And those yields were so strong, the crypto guys started buying STOs. So now you had the traditional finance coming into the space, and you also have the crypto guys. Coinbase is one of our investors. I'll announce something very exciting later. What's interesting about STOs, if you think about it from a regulation perspective, you can see what's going on. Transparency, full transparency, who owns what. And you can see a steady growth here. So the reason why STOs are so exciting for us, and we're blockchain agnostic, but we're very pro-public blockchains because every asset in the digital asset space that matters is issued on public chains. And if you want to connect to all this value, if you do build your own private chain, well, you are disconnected from all the rest of this value. But we understand in certain markets, we need to start somewhere. And so we do work on private and we do work on public chains. What's interesting right now is we've just signed a partnership with Fundraising, which is a Korean content company. We're very excited to tokenize Korean K-content, IP, and distribute it to investors all around the world. And on one of our platforms, we actually have retail investor license. So there's many layers of value that go far beyond the first two slides I spoke about with the digital versus paper. What's really valuable in the space is that if you issue these STOs, you can plug them into the power and innovation of decentralized finance. We built the first automated market maker. It's called IX Swap. It's outside. It allows anyone with an STO to start their first liquidity pool. It's an absolutely killer application, and it's built for any STO holder anywhere in the world. And we've launched the first legal compliant STO liquidity pools. Also, if you think about STOs, if I have a paper share versus a digital share, then I can start to lend and borrow these assets, just like you can with your public stocks. So imagine you can take your venture capital shares or your startup shares and actually use them on platforms to lend and borrow. That makes those assets multiple times more valuable. The fourth one, which we've already started on, new investment products. Again, think about the ETF. $6 million when it started, $7 trillion today. That was due to a technology structure, marrying a marketplace. We have the marketplace. We've got $300 trillion of real estate alone. Now, when we bring this technology to marry that marketplace, we're going to see all these new, improved, better investment products, and it's getting very, very exciting. The fifth one, which is also extremely important. You now see traditional finance selling cryptocurrency. DBS Bank, Singapore, cryptocurrency exchange. Standard Chartered Bank, cryptocurrency exchange. You also now have the DeFi, the crypto guys coming into the space. I'm going to show you a quick video about our latest partnership with Coinbase, where we've integrated with Base protocol, Coinbase's protocol, and Coinbase's wallet. So 15,000 institutions who are asking about STO services now have a legal and a compliant place to actually launch them on us. So TradFi, traditional finance, and DeFi, decentralized finance, all the players are coming for the STO assets. And there's going to be a whole new world of distribution channels. Grab Finance, which has 280 million users in Southeast Asia, they started doing deposits. Now they're doing crypto. The next natural evolution is STOs. So the distribution channels are dramatically going to change. We've done a project with the MAS where we tokenize the Singapore fund vehicle. And then with UBS and State Street, and this was a project with MAS who actually funded this deal. And so our platform offers a low-cost, fast setup. You don't need tech integration. You can put your own brands on there. You just pay a monthly subscription fee, and you can use all of the services. I've got 2 minutes left, so I'm going to play one last video for everyone here. Ooh. Yeah, sorry, can you just start again? So this is our latest partnership. We're super excited. This is the first time we're sort of saying this publicly. It's with Coinbase, who's one of our investors. It's meant to have some sound. Okay, so thank you very much. Myself and my team, we've got demos of both our platforms outside. If you're looking to invest in the space or issue STO assets, again, we do global product for global investors. We also have retail investor access. We'd love to speak with you, and thank you very much.